What if the biggest lie you ever told wasn't to someone else? What if your biggest lie was pretending to be someone you're not? We've been taught that unicorns represent innocence, purity, perfection. But that's not what made them powerful, because the shadow of the unicorn isn't corruption. It isn't vanity. It's the part of us that would rather look perfect than be real. And if we misunderstand this archetype, we can spend years trying to become someone we're not instead of becoming someone authentic. And once you see it, you'll never look at the unicorn or yourself the same way again. Hi, everyone, and welcome to my channel, Diary of a Shadow Healer. I'm Starshade, and this is the place where your shadows find their voice. If this video ends up resonating with you, I really hope that you'll tap on that subscribe button for me. All right, let's begin. Modern culture turned the unicorn into glitter and rainbows, but medieval mythology painted a very different picture. The unicorn wasn't tame. Kings couldn't command it. Hunters couldn't overpower it. It refused to be controlled. It approached only what felt genuine. That isn't weakness, that's discernment. One of the oldest legends says it could only be approached by a virgin, someone pure. Most modern readers stop there, but symbolically, I think it's pointing towards something much deeper than sexuality. I think it points towards someone who approaches life without manipulation, without domination, without needing to force outcomes. Someone who's willing to meet life honestly, even when it's not what they expected. That's a very different kind of purity. Not perfection, but the courage to be true to yourself. And here's what I find so fascinating. The unicorn only appears when people stop trying to force it. That's exactly how authenticity works. The more we fake trying to be real, the further away authenticity becomes. Because authenticity isn't something we can perform. It's something we allow to happen naturally. At its heart, the unicorn represents the part of us that refuses to betray our higher self. The part that quietly says, I'd rather stand alone than become someone I'm not. And unlike Artemis, whose boundaries actively defend her space, the unicorn simply walks away from what isn't aligned. But sometimes walking away is the strongest boundary of all. Because unicorn energy at its highest octave protects authenticity. It doesn't seek approval or compromise itself simply to belong. But every archetype has a shadow, and the unicorn shadow arrives through something that looks almost identical to its highest expression. Carl Jung described the persona as the social mask we wear to navigate the world and earn acceptance. For the unicorn, that mask often looks beautiful. Always kind, always patient, always morally right. But somewhere along the way, we stop asking, am I being authentic? And start asking, do I still look pure? That's a dangerous shift because purity can slowly become perfection. We tell ourselves, I'll publish the book once every word is just right. I'll start dating after I've completely healed. I'll do it when I feel more confident. That's when perfection stops looking like growth and starts looking like fear wearing a halo. Jung believed that becoming all light is impossible because every attempt to eliminate darkness simply pushes it further into the unconscious. And the more we reject our flaws, the more power they quietly gain beneath the surface. The unicorn doesn't become trapped by darkness. It becomes trapped trying to outrun it. And in modern spiritual spaces, this shadow is everywhere. It doesn't announce itself as perfectionism. It sounds much more evolved than that.
I'm protecting my energy.
Nobody feels aligned enough.
I haven't found the right teacher yet.
I'm still waiting for my person.
Sometimes those statements are genuine wisdom because healthy discernment matters. But sometimes they're armor because perfection doesn't just keep unhealthy things out. Sometimes it keeps everything out. And it becomes perfection from disappointment, from intimacy, from the vulnerability of actually beginning. Because if we never begin, we never have to risk getting it wrong. Perfection becomes avoidance disguised as wisdom. Honestly, I've caught myself doing this before. When I'm editing one of my books, I can spend way too long obsessing over a single sentence or even one word. I tell myself I'm trying to make it better. But sometimes, if I'm honest, it's really an excuse not to move forward. Because moving forward means finishing, and finishing means publishing. That's the moment people get to decide whether they love it or whether they don't. But then I remind myself, I'd rather risk failure than risk my dreams never becoming reality. One can't exist without risking the other. All this talk about unicorns actually reminds me of one of my favorite fantasy novels. And anyone that knows me knew that this was coming. The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle. Throughout the story, the unicorn experiences something she was never meant to experience. She becomes human. For the first time, she feels fear, love, loss, regret. When she finally is given the chance to become a unicorn again, she returns forever changed. At first glance, it almost feels tragic. The unicorn loses the innocence she once had, but from a shadow work perspective, I don't think she loses herself at all. I think she becomes more whole because she doesn't return carrying only purity. She returns carrying wisdom, carrying compassion. She returns carrying every experience she once believed belonged only to humans. Maybe that's the deeper lesson of the unicorn archetype. Shadow work isn't about protecting ourselves from life's darkness. It's about allowing those experiences to deepen us instead of hardening us. The unicorn doesn't become less because she lived. She becomes more. And maybe that's why the unicorn had to become human before it could truly become itself again. Because becoming whole was never about remaining innocent. It was about having the courage to keep living anyway. So what does an integrated unicorn actually look like? It isn't someone who's perfectly healed. It isn't someone who never makes mistakes. An integrated unicorn knows that integrity is stronger than perfection. Perfection says, if I get it wrong, I failed. Integrity says, even if I get it wrong, I'll still tell the truth. I'll still own my choices, and I'll keep becoming who I really am. Because here's what the shadow of the unicorn ultimately teaches us. Authenticity isn't a reward you receive after you've finished healing. It's the path that helps you heal in the first place. The unicorn was never waiting to be worthy. It simply was. And maybe that's what this archetype is really asking of us. Not to become pure, but to become honest. Honest enough to admit when we've made mistakes. Honest enough to apologize. Honest enough to begin before we feel ready. So this week, I want you to sit with one question. Where has perfection been holding you back from beginning? Consider this question for a while and see where it takes you. Don't look for the comfortable answer. Look for the one that makes you slightly uncomfortable, because that's usually where the unicorn is waiting. And as you think about that, there might be one final lesson hidden inside the unicorn story. Maybe that's why the unicorn has survived for centuries. Not because it represents perfection, but because it represents hope. The hope that we don't have to become someone else before we're worthy of living authentically. Beneath our fear, beneath our shame, beneath every mask we've learned to wear, there is still something within us that remains authentic. The unicorn doesn't ask us to eliminate our darkness. It asks us to stop letting the fear of our darkness keep us from living. Because innocence was never the absence of shadow. It was the courage to remain true to yourself in spite of it. And that's the unicorn's greatest lesson. The greatest act of healing isn't becoming someone better. It's finally allowing yourself to become someone real. Remember, this is the place where your shadows find their voice. And if this video resonated with you, I really hope that you'll tap on that subscribe button for me. I'll see you in the next one.